Okay, I believe we are live.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, commissioners. Welcome, council member. Welcome, audience. Cool. All right, sounds good. Let us kick off. While people are moving into the attendees. We are very happy to dedicate our guest speaker slot this month to Councilmember Nadeau, who comes around multiple times a year, but always once a year at this time in budget season to tell us what's going on in the council and take questions. So I will happily turn it over. We have sort of agreed to do half an hour of budget and then 15 minutes of non-budget Ward 1 things. So we'll try to stick to that timeline based on everyone's interests. So Councilmember, take it away. Happy to have you talk for a little bit about priorities and intrigue in the Wilson building, and then do save some time for budget Q&A before we do the open Q&A, if you would.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm always happy to be at my original home, ANC 1B. And I am happy to bring an update tonight, although it's not a happy update. We're in the thick of budget oversight hearings. I think I had my last one in my committee today. It's starting to get to the point where I can't keep track, but it was the ABCA, the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Administration hearing, and it is the first and last budget hearing I will have for ABCA because I just got them in my committee and it's my last year here. So kind of a milestone all around, but it was good to hear from them about their budget. I know the work of ABCA deeply impacts the work of the ANC, and their budget is pretty close to level funded, which is good. There's a lot to unpack in the mayor's budget, and the most disturbing theme really is gutting the social safety net and taking away from people who don't have means without really asking those who do to give anything back. And that is not the type of budget that makes me proud. So I'm going to do everything I can as council member with my colleagues to turn it around. There's cuts to critical programs like permanent supportive housing vouchers for people who've been experiencing homelessness, rapid rehousing, which helps people get out of homelessness, emergency rental assistance, which is one of our eviction prevention tools. And there's really no plan for how we make people whole who've been relying on these programs. People who are, just to be clear, people who are already in these voucher programs and receiving services are some of the people getting cuts. It's not just, not adding more slots, which is what we usually see. There's cuts to all our housing programs, workers, jobs, TANF, cash assistance, a huge cut and an entire policy change that reverts us back to the 90s. I can totally put up with the 90s fashion returning, but 90s era policy around public benefits is not something that we can tolerate because it puts people in a bad position for moving up and out of poverty. There are no restorations to the Alliance, which is our health benefit for our immigrant residents. There is a $60 million cut to the pay equity fund, which zeroes out our raises for early childcare workers, for childcare workers. And there's a $25 million cut to childcare subsidies, right? So this is what actually helps people get back to work, having their children in care. And it's not only a cut to the number of subsidies, but also the amount of subsidy is being tinkered with, which is going to impact the providers. And when we think about wanting to expand childcare all across the city to make sure everybody has access to a high quality, affordable slot, we have to keep in mind that if we start cutting things like pay and subsidy to providers, we're going to undermine the entire system and go backwards. So that's kind of bleak. And we're talking about how to solve for that with revenue raisers, like I've done in the past, looking to see how we can access some of the funds that our wealthiest residents could afford to pay on things like capital gains, things that, nobody really worked hard to earn, but happened to benefit from. And so we're leaving no stone unturned in terms of generating new revenue to plug some of these holes. In my committee, many of my agencies were spared the large cuts of the others, mainly because the Public Works and Operations Committee oversees the basic functioning of government, and a lot of that just can't be cut to keep functioning. But there are some cuts we're worried about. The big one I'm worried about is the Office of Administrative Hearings. That's where you go when you have an issue or a citation or a complaint against your landlord, against the city. And it's adjudicated by an administrative law judge. It's our administrative court, and it's a critical civil justice entity. And with the budget that they've got coming up, they'll only be able to get to 65% of their cases. That'll continue to contribute to their backlog. And that means that laws we pass that have enforcement and enforcement aspects of them are just not going to be effective because there's no teeth. If someone knows that they can go years and years without being penalized for breaking one of our civil penalties, they're going to keep doing it. I mean, there's an example right now in 1B about a person violating the building code with a sign that the community doesn't like, that, with OAH being so backlogged.
They recently took it down, actually.
I know,
Yeah.
but still,
But
it
you're
took
right.
so
No, you're right.
long, right?
It took forever.
And that was
Thank you for giving
because-
that a shout out.
Yeah, no, but okay, it's a perfect example. Like, was
Yes,
that
totally.
sign, that sign wasn't as pressing as, say, somebody's TANF benefits, and that's why the TANF benefits takes higher priority in the queue, but it was still urgent and important to the community. And if you don't have the agency properly resourced, then that's going to keep happening.
And it sets a precedent, of course, which, we want to make sure that people know that there's rules and that they are enforced.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I've been really sounding the alarm with colleagues on this. It's like, if you're going to keep passing bills that have enforcement requirements, then you got to fund OAH too. So I do have a little of a pass the hat thing going on. We'll see if anybody pitches in, but DPW is for the most part flat funded. There's some minor increases that really, I think, just keep up with the costs. There is sustained funding for street and sidewalk repairs, especially important after the winter we had. Salt and freeze and snowcrete going to do a lot of damage to the roadways. And if you're seeing more potholes than usual, it's not your imagination. I mean, that's the way the physics go, right? Okay, so public safety. Big cuts to the Office of Unified Communications. That's our 911 call center. That is crazy. It's a crazy thing to cut. As you probably know, unless you've been living under a rock, we've been having a lot of issues there with, call time, how long it takes to get your call picked up, still sending people to the wrong place. And I've been fighting with them on this for several years, just to restructure, but to cut their budget is wild. $27.3 million from the Access to Justice grants. Now, you may not know what this grant fund is, but you certainly know the organizations that are funded through it. It enables nonprofit legal service providers, including the DC Bar Pro Bono Center, but also organizations like Bread for the City and all the organizations that provide legal supports to our residents for free, to help residents that are facing life-altering civil legal issues like eviction, domestic violence, custody disputes, probate matter, loss of public benefits, all of that. Also, Landlord Tenant Legal Assistance Network, Family Law Assistance Network. With those funds, these organizations assist more than 16,500 tenants and 6,000 clients since their launch in 2020. So we need to keep them funded. Cuts to the Pathways program in the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. So that's our 10-week program that helps at-risk people put down their guns and not engage in violence. And it's an incredible program with training and actually getting paid to participate, wraparound services for the whole family to really help stabilize and move people out of that life of violence, which reduces crime in our communities. And in FY25, there were 39 participants from Ward 1, which is huge, because those are 39 people in our ward who are not only not committing acts of violence, but won't be targeted by violence, which is just as big of an issue in our neighborhood. The Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement's violent intervention programs, which, by the way, is now the only place we have them, right? So This year, the OAG program was cut entirely. The funding was cut entirely. It wasn't just shepherded over to the other program. So we're already down, and now we're getting cut again, $14.1 million. Sorry, a $280,000 cut from the to 14.1. So huge cut for them because they're just not a very big program. And this is this is the program that addresses our neighborhood-based violence in LaDroit, Columbia Heights, and Parkview, and as needed really around the ward. This is not a good scenario and will not have a good outcome for Ward 1. So we've got to get that money back. And then the other is the Safe Commercial Corridors program, which is mainly in Adams Morgan, but they have a safety ambassador program that works the way that our community navigators programs work on U Street and Georgia Avenue. So the budget's made up of two parts. So that was all operating investments. The capital budget was not bad for us. So a lot of things funding has gone up, like marginally, but like to address like increased costs. But one big thing is that the replacement public housing at Bruce Monroe still needs all the housing that we're building at Bruce Monroe. We need another $33 million. And it's just like the mayor just didn't put the money in. I mean, the focus is all going to the stadium as far as I can tell. So every meeting we have, I mentioned the 33 million to my colleagues. I think they know now that this is a priority and we've got to get it done. Like, it's my last year. I can't walk out the door not having fully funded Bruce Monroe and Park Morton. So stick with me and for updates on that. Just a couple 1B specific items. The mayor is proposing tax increment financing to advance the Reeve Center redevelopment. I'm scrutinizing that because it's a big deal, but I'm generally supportive. Seems to be critical to close the financing gap on that project. And the bus priority program appears to have sufficient resources to continue their work on projects in 1B, including U Street, 14th Street, and Georgia Avenue. So those are my budget updates. I have just a few non-budget updates, and I can either stop there or I can plow through and take questions at the end, however you like.
Let's do budget questions now, if you don't mind. I'll throw a quick one at you. I don't know if you know this, but the news on the Reeve Center is wonderful. I know Commissioner Fay has had some updates he's going to share later today. I don't know, do you have a sense of whether that would alter the sort of two-phase approach that they say that they're taking now, or does that funding apply to one or the other phase or both? I don't know how that breaks down now.
Good question. It does not alter the plan. I don't know if it applies to both phases, but I am getting a briefing on that this month from the developers. So I can certainly keep you posted.
Please do. Heightened interest in the crumbling skeleton of that building, which I know is now incurring costs.
Well, right. And then there's all these people that are going to be moving into it that have leases that are expiring where they're coming from too. So it's just like everything, it needs to move forward. So.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Hanrahan.
Hey, good evening, council member. I actually had a question about the ABCA hearing. Unfortunately, couldn't make it today. But wondering,
you and everybody else, it was very lightly attended.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, we need better attendance across the board there. But wondering if they had an update about the website. Is the website? I think we spoke at the last year's performance hearing, which was like 2 months ago, about there was budget in this year's budget to finish it by the end of this year. I'm not sure if we know any updates, so just kind of wondering if there's an update on their website. Do we know anything about that?
Yeah, the Salesforce, the entire overhaul of their system back end. Yeah. Still planning to be done by the end of the fiscal year. Actually, they think maybe this summer. The budget is lacking funding for the licenses they need to log in and operate it, which is problematic. So we are trying to get a budget number on that because that's pretty silly. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're very psyched about it. We talked about it extensively about all the different functionality, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty great. And we had the confirmation hearing today for James Turner for the ABC board. So we will have an Ward
Oh my God,
One
wow. I think
former.
I have his email. I still get
Uh-huh.
things
You
addressed
do,
to him.
you are 1B09, is that you? Yeah.
Yes, that's me.
So he will serve well. I mean, having a 1B commissioner go on to be on the ABC committee is just perfect in my mind, because if it happens in 1B, if it doesn't happen in 1B, it doesn't happen, right? That's my thinking, but I'm biased. So he's very excited. And you will most certainly have a good listener on the board now, who gets where you're coming from for sure. So that is very exciting too.
That's huge news. Thank you. Thanks for that.
What's the timeline for? I assume he was approved.
So we had the hearing today. We shortened the record so that we could get him moved faster. So we're keeping the record open for 1 week,
Okay.
and then we want to agendize him in the June legislative meeting.
Okay. And he's sworn in pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, it like they don't let me. Actually, they might let me swear him. I'll ask, but yeah, they usually just bring everybody in and do it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a weekly meeting. So as soon as he's sworn in, he can march right in there, right?
We got a list of questions. We got whatever,
Yeah.
ready to go. Commissioner Fay, please.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. Thank you for being here. Sorry to hear about the cuts to ones in the violence interrupter program. Nicole from your office joined a large group of folks in Lidroy Park, I think 2 weeks ago, and we heard from Quelly about a lot of the upcoming cuts to what was in ones, and also the impact on the VI program. So I'm disappointed to hear that, and we'll be doing what we can do to be helpful on that front. Was interested to hear your comments on the Reeves Center. We do get kind of some updates from the DemPed folks, which are helpful, useful. Admittedly, they also will share, look, a lot of this stuff is out of our hands and sits with council level decisions. And so I'm wondering if you're able to provide any more kind of insight about the upcoming Reeves development. Nothing maybe by way of design things that you can't share, but more from a progress and a timeline perspective, so that we can be thinking about two things. One would be what's the timeline that you're looking at, and then the second would be what are ways that we can be engaged and helpful in helping to advocate and to shepherd that really important project along for the ward.
Yeah, good questions. I'm fascinated, and I would love to know what things they think are out of their hands that the council is working on. Anything specific?
I think it was more along the lines of funding, which you had mentioned. So questions about how this was going to get paid for with current budget gaps. And then this may not have been we're waiting on council, but rather once we get the final proposal from the developer, those plans will be reviewed by council. And so maybe the question in that was, are there plans that have been submitted / have you been given information about when plans will be submitted, which would then give an indication of the timeline on next steps?
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so we found out about the TIF when the Budget Support Act was submitted to us. So we're very excited to see it. But no, I'm getting a briefing from the developer this month, and I should have more information then. They just want to make sure that we're all up to speed on what they're proposing. It will, because this is so the TIF comes before us because it's a law. We're passing it into law as part of the Budget Support Act. So that'll move with the budget. And then if there's any changes to the development deal, it may come back to us because it's a disposition. But I think it very much depends. I suspect if there are any changes, they'll have more to do with zoning, and thus they would come back to you guys. But I can certainly keep you in the loop on what I'm hearing. But yeah, I think, everyone just wants to keep this moving. The developer mentioned that the tenants moving in have leases expiring in 2028. And so they, it's costly and time consuming to extend those for no reason. So let's get it moving.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely. And
keep-
then do you know if this is a land lease or if this is going to be actual kind of a parcel sale?
I can't remember, but that's definitely already been decided. So one of us we can look it up.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Anything further on budget? I don't see any hands. So do you want to go ahead with the?
Can I ask one more question since there was
Yeah.
another hand? And
Sure.
I apologize. In the same vein as Reeves, we're also paying attention, obviously, to 1617. Do you have any kind of insights as to, I know that the zoning was
Yeah.
changed. I know that it's still kind of going through a review process with some contestation of the zoning decision. But beyond that, any other insights into the kind of development plans and timeline there?
No, and I think sadly, this is not going to get done in my council lifetime, but I think that we have together set the table for what will be a really tremendous project and to maximize the housing there. One thing that will still remain to be seen is whether or not any library services could be contained there, which had been our wish, our great wish. And in which case that there would be funding would need to be identified, but we're so far away from knowing what funding is needed from that project that it would just be somewhat irresponsible to try to set aside any of those funds now. It's obviously very valuable land, but then layering the subsidy on top for the 30% of the housing on there that'll have to be affordable kind of takes the land value down. So it often evens out, and then ultimately we probably end up just having to find cash if we want to preserve additional space there for public use besides the fire and police station. So I think the conversation needs to continue as the zoning process unfolds too.
Great, thank you.
Let me tack on a question. I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks, Matt. Which is maybe more in your wheelhouse. I'm not quite sure where the conversations have left off with FEMS and MPD about that space, and they're thinking about transition planning. It's not something that has come across our desks in over a year, I want to say, because that's sort of a second order thing, right? To like the RFP and all of that. But do you know anything about the thinking at the agencies? Have you been in conversations in the past months?
No, and some of it's going to be sort of pro forma, right? Because like they have a template for what they need for each of those facilities, and then what they'll do is sort of take those templates and kick it to the design build team, and say, all right, make us a pretty version of the functional thing that we need. And so, yeah, there hasn't been much discussion. It's kind of like when we modernize a school, like there's the ed spec, they call it. And so everything has to be built to that. And the conversation doesn't really begin until it's time to do the pre-development work. So we're not out of the loop on anything. It's just, unfortunately further down the road than we'd like it to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Let's flip over to 15 or 20 minutes then on non-budget. You had some updates, and then we'll do Q&A.
Yeah, great. Okay. So this week, the council passed legislation to allow the mayor and MPD to impose curfews, to expand the curfew. And I did not support this. I haven't supported it. I don't think it's right to use policing to solve a social issue. Now, look, U Street, I understand, has been challenging. Like to say this to 1B, I get, there's some nuance here. But it's pretty widely held that the curfew is not the solution to a lot of the issues that we have. It's all the other things that need to be done. So here's the way I think about it is we have an issue with kids, and our government has decided we're going to lead with police as the response rather than using all the other items in our toolbox, which necessarily sort of criminalizes something that is, not actually criminal behavior. It's treating kids like criminals when we've got what's essentially a status offense for, is what it's called. So I proposed 2 amendments to reduce what I think is harm from this. One sunsets this law December 31st, 2028. And here's my thinking here. Council, the mayor have talked ad nauseum about all of the wonderful programs that we're going to do for the youth to sort of change the behavior, right? Or to relocate the behavior or make the behavior safe, right? Teens are being teens. They're not setting out to do harm. They're setting out to have fun. And let's create safe spaces that they want to go to, right? That's a key piece of this. And let's make that sustainable and make that regular and make it part of what we do as a city to keep our kids safe and to keep our communities safe. Let's do it. I'm giving you 2 years to do it when you have this curfew in place. And if folks are actually serious about doing these things, then they'll get it done. And if at the end of 2 years, our government decides this has been a good program, we'll continue it, then that's what they'll decide. But this forces the conversation to happen again in 2 years. The other amendment, and that did pass, the other amendment prohibits MPD from bringing curfew violators to detention centers or to a police station. Again, curfew violation is a status offense. It's not a crime. And exposing children to carceral settings does terrible damage. It actually pushes them towards criminal behavior and it's not at all the humane or right way to deal with what's a nonviolent offense. So this still allows MPD to take those who violate the law and handle it how they normally would, including taking them to the youth detention center. But what it does is give MPD some more instruction on how to handle youth that are in their custody due to a violation. So 1, call their parents. 2, take them to one of the 24-hour drop-in centers that exist. There are 2 right now. 3, take them to an event going on. Now that DPR is doing more of these pop-up events, take them home. Actually, that's number 1 is take them home. And then the children, if their parents aren't available, can offer an additional safe location, like take me to my aunt's house, et cetera. And only after they've exhausted all of those, now, instead of going to a detention center, the children will be, the police will call CFSA, which is our child welfare agency, which is much more appropriate in this setting. So that also passed. The entire law passed with those 2 amendments. It will go into effect late summer after congressional review. Councilmember Parker and others made some efforts on the dais also to bring about conversations around the right programming for youth. And he's been working on this in his committee. And I'm certainly going to be supportive of those efforts. So that's curfew. That's one big thing we did this week. Housing is another big thing that I've been working on, still. I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years, but I'm using my final year on the council to find as many ways as possible to increase the number of affordable homes in DC. And I have 3 bills. 1 passed Tuesday. So that was the one front door legislation that allows for more and larger housing units to be built in small buildings by eliminating the requirements for a second staircase without sacrificing fire safety. This is safe. It's proven policy in cities like New York and Seattle and other countries around the world. It's not going to result in an overnight boom of building, but it's going to create one more pathway for housing, which we desperately need. We've already heard from people who have projects that just don't pencil out with that second staircase that are excited to move forward and to build that housing. So I'm very excited about that. The second bill is the Housing Production Omnibus Bill. Robert White and I co-introduced this in February. It replaces the Housing Production Trust Fund, which is a really important program, with more modern and flexible financing mechanism and adds new tools to accelerate housing production and preserve existing affordable housing. We're calling that part of it the Housing Opportunity Fund. It actually creates 5 funds. So 1 for housing production. So if you're willing to build fair market housing, we will help get your shovels in the ground. The second fund is subsidy for deeply affordable housing. So we're getting those shovels in the ground on the fair market housing, and then we can add a subsidy to it. So rather than making that a precursor, sometimes we still will be able to do that, but this is like, let's get that housing built, then let's subsidize the units. Preservation of affordable housing. So we've got housing that is run down and dilapidated, needs to be modernized and updated. That's for that. The 4th fund, support for tenants purchasing their buildings, so TOPA. This funding is so desperately needed because people going through a TOPA deal can't wait for a cyclical RFP or notice of funding availability because their housing's on the market now. So this creates a more flexible timeline and an actual funded pot of money for those TOPA deals. And then the fifth is the district land acquisition fund to support housing development and affordability. So that could be the District Opportunity to Purchase Act finally realized. It also could be buying land that we think is valuable for the district. And I'm very excited. This had a hearing in March and it's moving forward in the committee. And then the third bill is the Housing Targets Bill. And this sets ambitious targets for affordable housing in all parts of the district and updates them every 5 years, making sure that housing targets are met all around the district. Now, Ward 1 showed everyone how it was done for the 2025 goals. We hit our mark, but we don't have any new goals now. So this is really about keeping us moving forward. So that's housing. The bottle bill I've talked to you about in the past. It's now with the Transportation and the Environment Committee. I'm excited because Councilmember Allen is a champion of the bill and he's putting together a roundtable with certain topics to really get to the final tweaks we need to make to the bill and move it forward. And then no substantive update right now about the Neighborhood Management Authority bill, but thank you for your advocacy to the council members who have jurisdiction over it in their committees. We are really trying to get a hearing from Councilmember Fruman on this so it can move forward. I can do what we call pre-fund it in the budget. We just have to get, and it's not expensive because it generates revenue. But we need to get it moving. And, obviously the clock is ticking on my watch. So it's really important to me that we get that done for U Street and Columbia Heights. My next brand in your block is next week, Tuesday, May 14th, 6 to 8, right there in 1B at Emmy French Corner, 1250 U Street. If anybody wants to hang with me in person, we do casework, we talk policy, we have treats. It's by your own. I'm not made of money, but we all eat and it's a good time. So I hope some folks will come out so we can spend some more time together and keep updating each other on what's going on in the community. That is all I have for you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Questions on non-budgetary Ward 1 matters? Yep, take it away, Matt.
Thank you. And again, about the juvenile curfew. So this group discussed the juvenile curfew a couple of weeks ago. To be candid, I proposed a letter of support, which my fellow commissioners said, no, we don't support the juvenile curfew. And where that conversation took us was a real discussion about, while it might be an effective temporary tool, it can't be a long-term tool. And we need to be talking about how we are investing in the youth of the city. This is not directed at you. This is directed at the council. What we said is, we're just the ANC, right? We're coming into this, many of us, for the first 2 years of a term. What has council done? Why hasn't council been focused on the youth of the city? And so, again, not focused on you, but maybe as a window into council, why hasn't there been more discussion and investment and policy development at the council level about engaging youth, so that, today, as we're looking at all of these challenges, there aren't more robust programs in place. And I'll kind of close with my usual refrain, which is then also, how can we help, right? What is it that we need to do? Because if we say, and I agree, it's not a permanent solution, we need to be focusing on the real issues of youth engagement and providing activities and safe spaces. It just feels like it's such a big issue, and yet it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of concrete traction.
Great. Well, I appreciate the question and the framing. I think a few things. One is it is getting a lot of attention at the council. I think there have been multiple hearings on the youth programming. And one of the things that I've been real proud of is the youth who've come out and said, this is what we want and need, because DPR can program till the cows come home, but if they haven't consulted with the people they're trying to serve, then it's not going to be effective, right? And it needs to be in the right places. I mean, like, some of the reasons all the parties are happening at Navy Yard is because that's where the kids live, right? It's actually their neighborhood, right? So some of that's true of U Street. A lot of it is visitors on U Street, but it's partially like, this is uncharted territory in so many ways, the way that social media plays into this. But I think the biggest challenge is the mayor has led on this, and she's led with police first as the solution, right? So we get the budget once a year, and she's got it all year. And when she wants to, she can move money around and say, oh, we're going to do a late night this, and we're going to do overtime that. And if you're leading with police as the solution, then you're not going to get to the right answer here in this scenario. So I think that's a huge piece of it. The other thing is, like, if you look at the budget right now, the thing that we need to solve this issue, it's like investment in violence prevention, investment in youth programming, investment in schools, investment in school-based mental health care, investment in out-of-school time programming. It's all getting cut. All of it. So now it's on us. And I think one of the challenges we have at the council is every damn year we have to plug these holes instead of moving forward with new ideas and policies. And so I'm hopeful for the next mayor and council that they'll be able to work together, that the city will have a mayor that actually cares about these issues and wants to invest in them. And that's like a priority, rather than defaulting to the police or the solution. And I've just seen that year after year, is the police are the solution for every last thing, and everything else gets short shrift in the budget. So these agencies like DPR, they step up and they have these late night splash parties and all of the stuff that they're doing. And it's just not consistent, because it's not budgeted to be consistent. It's not deep and connective. It would be really meaningful, a mentor program that tied to these. It's not like we don't have any mentor programs, but it's not like being used as a strategy. I haven't heard anyone say, like, we know who these kids are and we can match them with mentors, right? Like, that's all stuff that is like easy, basic, low hanging fruit. And I've been proud of Councilmember Parker and the Youth Affairs Committee, because they really are digging into this. And he in particular was really supportive of my amendment to shift things from DYRS to CFSA. By the way, both of which, those agencies used to be under me in Committee on Human Services. And we were always trying to increase funding for those programs. But I think it's a mix of things and kind of a perfect storm here. I mean, so, I think new leadership is going to be good. We're going to have to plug all these holes. I mean, when you rip the social safety net out from under families, you absolutely see kids going wild, because their parents are working more jobs. They're stressed out. Kids want to get out of the house because their parents are in bad moods. It's all linked. So I think there's a lot of answers, and I don't know that we're going to get where we need to go in this particular budget, because we're going to be trying to plug all those holes. So we'll see.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to try to hit as close to 7:15 wrap up as possible. So if you have a question, put your hand up. I'll try not to
I can
go
try.
beyond. We've got 3 people in the queue right now. So I saw Commissioner Barrios' hand up first. Please go ahead.
Hi, Councilmember Nadeau. Thanks so much for coming to our meeting. Always nice to see you, and great to hear that you're crossing the finish line fast here. Lots to do. I was wondering, on the topic of housing, I was just curious to hear more about the replacement to the Housing Production Trust Fund you were proposing, in terms of, it sounds like there would be help for financing with market rate housing as well.
Yes.
Because there is sort of a gap there. It seems like people are not able to get the financing together. And then also just, your reaction to the future land use map and its ambitiously unambitious attempts to add, very little housing to Ward 1. It seems like there's basically almost nothing that's going to be added or allowed in the zoning envelope that isn't already allowed in Ward 1. And
yeah. So
how you're
yes,
responding to that.
you understood me correctly. The Housing Opportunity Fund will help subsidize market rate housing as needed for, various reasons, but mostly to get more shovels in the ground and build more housing everywhere. I interrogated the deputy mayor on the comp plan during her hearing last week before, and asked her, like, why is it so unambitious, more or less? And she said, well, we did the math and we just don't think there's going to be that many more people moving into DC, and the population isn't going to get much bigger. I was
Crazy.
kind of shocked by that. sort of just sort of apathy. And but that's the answer. So I am ticked at it. I wish I was going to get a pass at it, but I think we're teeing up. I'm gonna leave the chairman with lots of notes, let me tell you. And my recommendation, once again, that he form an ad hoc committee on the comp plan. So stay tuned.
That's tough to hear. Thanks.
As other public bodies have done. Let's go ahead to apropos Christian Brandt. I see your hand, chair of our ZPD committee.
Hi, council member. Yes, apropos, we are forming a joint committee to respond to the comp plan. It's gotten a little bit of a slow start, but it should hopefully be starting soon. I actually wanted to ask you a little bit about the housing targets bill.
Sure.
This is something that the ZPD is really interested in weighing in on. And I think some of the committee members were particularly interested, unless I'm confusing the bills, but some of the committee members were particularly interested in the component, the sort of enforcement mechanism of the housing targets bill.
Yes,
that would appoint, I'm not sure I'm remembering the exact term, but like a special investigator for the planning districts that don't meet their targets. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit more about that.
Yes. I mean, they're not going to like carry badges and guns, but basically the idea is if certain areas aren't meeting their targets, we need to understand why and then fix it, right? So you need like more of a brainy investigator than say like a detective, but a scholarly investigation. But yeah, the goal there is like, let's get the information so we can reverse course and fix that. And I think everybody knows which wards we're looking at. It's not Ward 1, but we'll still build more. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Final question goes to Mr. Chauvin. Give me a sec. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Brianne. Thank you for appointing James Turner as our first time in 10 years designee to the APCA board. So I know you had your fingerprints all over that. I'd like to thank you. Tell me, so I'm happy. I've watched some of your oversight on APCA. You've asked some good questions. I appreciate it. My question to you is, will you be entertaining amendments to the APCA bill, the APCA/executives bill? I guess that was introduced in March. Am I correct? But coming before your committee at some point in the next months, in the short term, will you be seeking to make some changes of your own? I hope so, and be open to ideas from the community. And specifically, perhaps I hope, because I think you alluded to the problems. You've always called the moratorium a blunt tool, a blunt instrument, blunt hammer, with limited effectiveness. But I hope you will be open to some changes to that and to make it more community friendly, and so that we can get the outcome we all deserve, both the commercial folks and residents. But also, I liked your idea about the stock settlement agreements. Like, why isn't there a good one to give to folks so they can start from a good baseline and have the best baseline, because it's such a struggle for so many folks, so many ANCs and community associations throughout the country. Or throughout the district. I mean, and again, thank you for your openness. And I just would like to hear that you're sort of wide-eared and willing to work with folks for good ideas to make an alcohol code serve all people in the district. Thank you.
Yep. Definitely open. This is a little bit of a full circle assignment for me, as you know, having cut my teeth on an ANC, and now I'm helping reform the ABCA law. But yep, we look forward to having a hearing on it. We will take all testimony and consider it well, and try to get the best bill possible out of the committee.
Thank you.
I'll add on one question. Can I do it? Can I have used my own rule? I wanted to raise an issue that has been in our emails a bit lately, and I'm just wondering if it has come across your desk, and if so, who in your office we can liaise with about it. It's the alley between 8th and 9th T in Florida, kind of behind the Shea. I think there was a mention in an email that came across that that your office had been contacted about it. It's seen a spike in all kinds of disturbing activity, fights, and drug use, and all of that that the neighbors are reporting, seeing out their back windows.
Yeah.
We did a safety walk there with 3D maybe a month or a month and a half ago, so they're aware of it. And sort of ironically, they said, "Oh, this is very surprising to us because we usually park a car at the entrance to that alley, but it sort of curves around." So I guess they just weren't seeing a lot of the activity. And they made some recommendations about adding lighting and cameras to the back of the alley, but certainly more patrols would be helpful. I don't know, is this something that's come across for you guys? Is there anything that you're aware of that we should be communicating to the constituents that could give them some?
Yeah,
sense of-
it's been going on a little while. I think the email thread that I'm on goes back at least a year, maybe longer. And I think it's just sort of like it ebbs and flows. It's like a party back there. And what I've seen on the email thread I'm on, and maybe we're on the same one, but is that MPD's actually been really responsive and given a lot of advice on who to call and when to call. There was some, I don't know if it was last weekend or the weekend before, there was some concern from residents that MPD hadn't responded, and they went back and forth a little bit on like, we did, no one was there, et cetera. But I will commend the neighbors. They're doing a great job of documenting the issue. And I honestly think this is a scenario where like consistent MPD presence can deter that behavior. And so that's what we're going for on that one in particular. Because it's not juveniles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so is the where we've left the neighbors sort of call every time you see something, and that's
Well, I mean, MPD obviously needs their regular presence there too, but they're not going to be able to post up, right? And probably what happens there is what happens most places is the minute they go away, the party starts. So it's unfortunately going to be a little bit of back and forth too. So, yeah.
yeah. Maybe we can follow up offline. Maybe talk about a camera placement there because I know they obviously have a program for that. We have them in our
Yeah, I
alleys
mean, I
over
think
here.
they have one because they usually send the footage, so it just hasn't
Or
been pretty.
some parking enforcement could be helpful there.
Yes, I need to look at the map to see if that's public or private, but yes, totally. I mean, they're around, right, because of the nightlife task force, so that's not out of the question. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll link up about it. Appreciate it.
Great.
Okay, appreciate your appearance. Thank you for fielding so many questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. All righty, we'll slide over to our formal meeting, which I call to order, 7:22 p.m. Commissioner Secretary Fay, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barrio,
Here.
Commissioner Sycamore. Not here. Commissioner Lemon Strauss. I thought I saw
Sorry,
him.
I'm slow on the unmute here.
All right, perfect. Commissioner Lemon Strauss is here. Commissioner Kenzik.
Present.
Commissioner Trindade Duramo.
Present.
Commissioner Holden.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Present.
And Commissioner Fay is also here. With 8 of 9, we have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to do a little bit of Jenga on the agenda. Oh, you know what? In fact, I think a little bit. We have a couple guests already piling up among the panelists, so we always love to give them, show them deference and let them speak early. So we will move a couple things around. I think we can handle the consent agenda really quickly right now, though, just to make sure we are on track. On the consent agenda, we just have, of course, the agenda itself, as well as our minutes from the past two meetings, April 9 and April 27. And I've also added two motions that we discussed at the Committee of the Whole a few days ago to extend the deadlines assigned under two resolutions that we've passed previously. One is the Special Committee on the Comprehensive Plan, which has needs more time to do its work. They've met with OP recently to sort of shape their work plan and schedule coming up. And the second is the resolution that we sent to the ABCR committee asking them to memorialize their best practices and SOPs, which we had asked to come back to us by June, but they've also asked for more time, and we have happily obliged so they can do a good job, hoping to see that in August. So we will extend both of those deadlines. In fact, we need to specify to when. So sorry. Commissioner Hanrahan, if you can come off mute, did we decide that we could do August for a report back on the ABCR resolution?
Yeah, we can try for August.
Okay, that one will be to August. And then Mr. Brandt, if I put you on the spot, no need to do this with great precision, but just holding it up against the timeline, OP's timeline for public feedback, what would you say is the best ANC monthly meeting for us to have a report back?
That is a very good question. I would say probably October.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Christian.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm glad, since you were in that meeting, I'm glad you also agree.
Okay. Allowing enough time for us to consider it at our October meeting.
Yeah.
And if there's, yeah. Okay. So that one is October. The ABCR one is August. So that is all on the consent agenda. Is there any objection to the consent agenda?
Yeah, we approve the consent agenda.
That's fine. Thank you. Without objection, the consent agenda is adopted. Thank you very much. We'll move into executive council member agency announcements. We had the council member herself representing her office. Nicole, if you want to jump on and say anything, we'll come back around to you. Again, I do want to give deference to our agency representatives. We have Sean Moore on the line, who we have asked. Oh, there he is. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole. Saw your message there. Sean, we reached out a couple months ago. Sorry we didn't make it happen for last month. We were interested in an update on lead-free DC progress, the 1B projects that are going on. And also there was a question bouncing around about the new assessments of, remind me the name of the runoff mechanism.
The CREAC fees,
Maybe.
Clean Rivers,
Yeah.
Clean Rivers, yes.
Yeah, so we're hoping you can talk about those two things, and I'm sure we'll have a little bit of Q&A for you too.
Well, the CREAC fees, the Clean Rivers piece, I'm not able to talk about those. That's not something that's within my area of expertise. I can talk about lead-free DC and what we're doing. I know we do have quite a bit of work going on. As a matter of fact, I had a couple of slides, if you don't mind if I share. I'll make it quick. Sharing's not turned on.
Hold on. Somebody can
What you do is ask for it and I'll say yes. There we go.
Okay. Can you see my screen? All right, you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So just a couple of things I'll let you know first. I know one of the big questions we have with the whole lead-free DC program is about restoration after replacements and test pits. We are having a webinar next week for folks to learn about our restoration process, what we do after we do test pits and service line replacements. So it's my opportunity to plug that. That's coming up on May 11th from 7 to 8 p.m. We'll have our resources there to answer questions for you about test pits and about restoration. Just in terms of where we are, I think since the last time I was here, we've done about 1,000 more service line replacements since last year when I was here. So we're at about 12,183 as of what's today? Thursday, as of Tuesday. So that is moving along pretty well. In terms of course, we all know the reason we're doing this is because of the health effects of lead. There's no safe level of lead. And so that's really the impetus that's driving us through this program. Where are we in 1B? I have a couple of things that are happening that I can show you. First, on our buy block projects, which are the citywide projects that we're doing across the city, we actually have 68 blocks in various construction phases right now, as about 765 premises. We just added a few more to these construction contracts, so that's why that 32% signature rate is a little lower than it was previously. And then we also have 18 blocks that are coming up in the fall for construction, and that's about 287 premises. So we do have quite a few premises here, over 1,000 premises in 1B alone that are either getting test pits and verification or actually having service lines replaced. So the second thing we do have in 1B is we do have small diameter water main projects that are coming up in fiscal year 27. I was like, oh, they don't need to hear about that. But then I thought about it. Fiscal year 27 starts in October. So in the next approximately 12 months or so, 6 to 12 months, we have all these small diameter water main projects that are starting over 11th Street, Euclid Street, in those areas. So you'll get more information about those as we move further along in the process. And I'll share this presentation with you so you can have all that information as well as a list of blocks so you can see where everything else is happening. One other thing, there are actually a lot of homes in 1B that are eligible for our LPRAP program. That means you can go on our lead map, see if there's check your service line material, and it'll tell you there if you're eligible for the LPRAP program. And so if you have just a private side service line that needs to be replaced and you're LPRAP eligible, you can actually apply for it right there from the webpage. We have 230 premises identified in 1B specifically that are eligible for the LPRAP program, and they don't have to wait on DC Water to do anything. So I would encourage folks to actually go and look at the lead map, dcwater.com/lead map, and find out the service line material they have at their home, and then go ahead and if they're eligible to sign up for whatever program they're eligible, but especially if they're LPRAP eligible, to move forward with that. While we do have funding and it is available, I always like to say take advantage of it while we know you can do it. Pretty much everything that if you have questions or anything, you can always reach out to me directly. I have my information here on the screen, Sean Moore, sean.moore@dcwater.com. We also have our lead hotline, lead@dcwater.com, which is a great place to send your questions because then we can track them and make sure that they get answered. And you can also call our lead hotline at 787-4044. The key part here is that, we need people to sign up so that we can, make our goal. We can get these service lines replaced. While we're making great progress, we aren't able to do it if people don't sign up. We have our QR code here where you can scan it to sign up. All you have to do is complete that right of entry. You can talk to our folks who come door to door, or, you can have me come out to talk to you or talk to your block about the project and about what Lead-Free DC means for your block. And with that, again, just want to remind you of the webinar that we have coming up. And I would like to thank the Academy for this opportunity to come as you play me off with music. I see I'm 30 seconds over, but I do appreciate it. I would love to take your questions and just understand if there are any specifics that you have.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for staying in theme. And also thank you for the offer to come and meet with people directly on a block. I didn't know you would do that. I might take you up on it. I have a block in my SMD that I know on the map is marked as, in progress. And we've had sporadic activity. And so it's kind of confusing for the neighbors to understand, are they done yet? Are they not? Or if somebody didn't submit an authorization for a pipe replacement, when is it too late?
Right.
So is that something that you'd rather handle on a case-by-case basis? Or if I see if there's enough interest to do a quick little Zoom meeting with everybody to understand that?
Yeah, we can certainly do. I can do case by case, but if there's the opportunity to do a little Zoom meeting, a little block meeting, or SMD meeting, I would be happy to do that. I have me or one of my colleagues on my team. We could certainly come out, or virtually come to a meeting and participate. Even if we do need to come out to the block and walk the block with you, we can do that as well. So we are flexible. We want to be able to answer the questions. We want people to be willing to sign up and to get their service lines replaced. So whatever we can do to make that happen, we're certainly here and willing to work with you.
That's great. Thank you. I have a couple questions in the chat. First one, technical one. Why are test pits 4 feet by 4 feet as a rule? With new digging technology and cameras, isn't it possible to ascertain the presence of lead without a 4x4 hole in the ground?
So the way we have done these test bits as we actually do them manually. I know there's other technology and other things that that are available, and of course we're investigating some of that technology, but there's nothing, you dig it up, you see it, you take a picture of it, then you know exactly what it is. There's no guesses about it because you can see it. And, that's been pretty much the gold standard of how you verify pipe material. And that's what we continue to do. If we can dig a smaller hole, we will. We just put the 4x4 is the standard size, but sometimes it's 3x3. It just depends. But the foolproof way to know what type of surface line material is there is to dig a test bit, and that's what we've done, and that's how we continue to do it.
Okay, appreciate that. And second question there: in the future, will lead-free DC replace any lines that are suspect without asking property owners to sign up?
That we don't. The way the law here is in the district, we can't do any work on private property without the homeowner's permission. So we can't just come and replace your service line, without your permission. So we can't come on your private property. So, we have in the past, we've done some partial replacements, which is something we try not to do, where we just replace the public side, but we would prefer to replace the entire service line if the whole service line is made of lead. But based on the law, we have to have your approval to do that. So unless there's a change in the law or some type of mandate or whatever, we still have to have the homeowner's approval to do the work on private property.
Right. Okay. Commissioner Hanrahan, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. I just want to say, I think last year, I saw this presentation on the lead-free DC and raised it to my landlord, and with also some internal recommendations, a contractor was able to come and do the work, and it was like really easy and smooth, and we feel happy that there's no more lead in the house. So, shout out to that, and thank you for the program.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. And that's a great point that you just brought up. It's not just for individual houses or row houses. It could also be small businesses, small apartment buildings, small condominium buildings. Uh, all those could potentially be eligible. You just need to check the lead map, the dcwater.com/lead map, and you'll be able to see, what the service line material is. And if it is made of a lead, then you can get it replaced for free. And that's just what the inventory map looks like.
Good to go. Thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I appreciate your visit. We'll be in
Always a
touch.
pleasure. I will send you out the presentation. If anyone has questions or would like us to come out and talk to them, please, I'll drop my information in the chat so that you have it. And with that, just thank you very much for the opportunity. And anytime you want me to come out and talk, just let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we move on to our next visitor. We have Christopher Thompson, who's here representing Capital Pride. I believe you are now a...
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Hello. Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming by. Thanks for swapping in there.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. And
All right, go ahead. Two minutes will be yours when you're ready to go. Do you need to share anything?
Yeah, I do. Just in requesting now.
And Chair, I've been giving 4 just because we've learned that 2 isn't enough for these topics. So forgive my doubling.
You can extend it, but that's really okay. Hopefully it's only 2 for me.
Cool.
Thank you all. I appreciate everyone, all your time. Just wanted to give a kind of an update and let everybody know for Capital Pride. It's going to be taking place again. It's the year after year. We're happy to be having this in DC. I know it does touch a little bit of your areas specifically for the parade and the setup. areas. It is once again the same road as we had last year, which is stepping off on 14 and T. And this year it will be ending at 14 and Penn. So it's a little bit shorter for those of you who are participating in the parade. You won't be walking down to the festival site as as we did last year for World Pride. So it's going to be just a little bit shorter for that. And actually, let me also share, I think this one hits this group. So again, this is kind of the step off. We do have all of the zones areas for what we are doing when we assemble and get everything prepared. That is typically we'll be doing the road closures starting on the parade is on Saturday, so we'll be doing that on Friday night. I know there was a concern last year. MPD extended out some of the road closures that we were not aware of. So we're actually working closely with them this year to make sure that we are all in sync and have the same road closures, so we can make sure that the signs are up in time. Everything is done, so we have the public's information is out there. So we are aware of that issue from last year. I'm going to be working more for it towards this year. So, and step off is at 3 o'clock, and right now should be done right around 5. But if there are any questions that do come up or anything, let us know. I'm happy to kind of answer any questions that the team has or anything that we need to be aware of that we may have overlooked previously.
2 minutes on the nose.
I was going to say, he nailed it.
Fabulous.
I think checking these off the list that I had, but yeah.
I mean, if the parade is going to run with this precision, I mean, this is fantastic.
I'll do my best.
More public restrooms.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agreed.
That's wonderful. There is also on our agenda, I'll point out later, a letter of support that the Committee on Community Engagement passed up to us for Capital Pride 2026. Always a point of pride for us to serve as the lead point of the parade up here in 1B land.
Yes.
So
setting it up for a wonderful parade up in there. So yes.
That's right. All good things begin in 1B, as the council member told us. If there are any questions about that letter itself, that was a great time to put them to Mr. Thompson. But if nothing else, I see no hands. Good to go. Thank you for your visit.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions, just let us know.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And our final visitor, I believe, will be Kenny Palmer. You've been promoted. Yep, you're good.
All right. Yes. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, hi.
I also do have something really quickly to share, but I don't think my Zoom is up to date, so I won't be sharing. But I am just here to share along a resource to help folks prepare their residents for the new ranked choice voting system here in the district. And so this resource, which is called outvote.dc.org, allows folks to not only see the stances of every candidate that's running both in the ward and citywide on LGBTQ issues, but it also helps residents plan their ballot ahead of their vote. So it is the voter guide for the 2026 Democratic primary. It covers every race, every candidate, and services each candidate's questionnaire responses, and it lets voters rank their top 5 in each race and print and or email their picks to take to the polls with them. It's a build your ballot tool, not just a check your registration page. So as DC is using ranked choice voting for the first time, and as you know, voters can rank up to 5 candidates per race. And so this is just to help voters who may be confused about this switch and need some help planning their ballots. This is a resource for them. The Capitol Stonewall Democrats will also be doing a lot of voter outreach and education ahead of the primary, and that is really all I have to share with you all today. Is just this resource, in the hopes that you all pass it along with to your residents.
Okay. Thank you for that. Congrats on the website. I know this is the first time that Stonewall has gotten, I think, quite this ambitiously involved in voter education thumbs up to you. Karen, could you please paste that to all the attendees? Yep. Thank you. Already on it. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for making the time to come by and let us know.
Thank you for having me. Have a great one.
Of course. Thank you. All right. Reaching back into Executive Councilmember Agency announcements. From Mokers, I think we have Enrique tonight. Yes, we do. Mr. Lopez, if you want to unmute yourself.
Good evening, commissioners and members of the public that are here. Hopefully you guys can hear me properly.
You're good to go.
Thank you. So no major updates from the Moker's office. The only primary things that Moker's office would like to share is continued efforts on endemic issues on rodent abatement is one of our priorities, mainly throughout the rest of the month as we are headed into the warmer months. As unsightliness is that one particular area that we're trying to tackle. So any particular issues regarding rodent abatement, feel free to reach out to me, as we are currently trying to coordinate multiple efforts with DOH with rodent abatement. So anything in particular, or any updates or any areas that need treatment, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. And then also as well, anything related to DPW and any illegal dumping issues or any particular areas that have been missed for residents as well as public canisters, please do reach out to me as well. But outside of that, there's nothing much for Mokers, but I am willing to take any questions from commissioners and the public here today.
I would love to reactivate an old request I have to place new litter bins. So thank you for the prompt. I'm going to email you about that and see if you can make this happen, even though over the course of a year, we've been stymied over and over again, just asking for a new trash can. So I hope we can work on that.
Sure.
Sure. Courtney, I'm unmuting. You can unmute. Go ahead. I saw your hand first.
Hi there. Thanks for being with us. I'm on Seton Street Northwest. I don't think we've had any street cleaning yet this year, even though people have been actually really good about moving to the other side of the street on Monday mornings. I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of a little bit more color on why DPW seems to be so broken right now, or at least for us. I've heard rumors that it actually may be targeted to our area. I don't know if that's true or not. I tend to think it's not true. I think it's probably a more general dysfunction. But can you tell us a little bit about like where the taxpayer dollars are going, if not for DPW to actually be working for us? Thank you.
Sure. So I'm pretty sure I was hoping that the council member would touch upon this, but so far within at least for the FY27 budget, DPW's budget will remain stagnant for this upcoming one. So that's a little bit more 10,000 foot view of where DPW currently stands. But to your particular question on your particular area, I wanted to back up a little bit and ask about what particular, like what street, like the exact address this is, so that way I can look into this as well. Courtney?
It's the entirety of Seton Street Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
And the alley also, we have our pickup, at least half the street has their trash and recycling pickup in the back. That's always a bit of a disaster. They are picking up right now. There was a time where they were not picking up. They seem to be picking up, but the consistency is such a problem over the last few years. And now with the street cleaning seeming to not have been going on since, this is going on month 3 now.
So I will say when it comes to street cleaning, DPW does scout ahead on as much as possible when it comes to making sure that cars residents are moving their cars, but from what it sounds like, which is good, that that residents on Seton Street are removing their cars, which is good, because usually we want to clean what DPW wants to clean out as much as possible. However, this is the first time that I'm hearing this, so I will take it upon myself as well, and my partners, Stephanie Avincula from the Moker's office for Ward 1, is that we will go out tomorrow make this a priority to see what's going on, and then relay this to DPW street cleaning crew as well as our alley inspection team to see, to come out tomorrow and see if we can get that resolved as well.
Great, yeah, because there's even like dead rats on the parts of the street that aren't cluttered by cars. So the street cleaner has very obviously not been anywhere near the street for the 3 months. But just coverage wise, though, can you say any more in terms of what is like obvious to folks about this DPW failure in the last? I mean, let's not even get into the snowstorm, but what's going on essentially? Is it just a leadership problem or an oversight problem, or what?
Mainly for as right now, DPW is going over some restructuring, so people are very much being moved around when it comes to their team. So the existing teams of street cleaning, waste collection, they're definitely their routes are being reorganized given this budget change and restructuring. So that is definitely causing some of this where issues at the top are, well, this kind of bureaucratic issue of restructuring is causing this this what do you call it? This
dysfunction, and
yeah,
that's
the
been going on for
dysfunction
a year
overall
or more,
in
you're saying?
yes.
Okay. So what's the timeline of that? When should we start to see some relief and consistency in service?
That I do not know, but that's why we at the Moker's office try to bridge this particular gaps, because while DPW does have their own routes as well, we want to hear from residents and the ANC as well to relay issues like these, since DPW has it's a working progress to resolve this issue. So when we get comments like these, this is our efforts as part of our responsibilities to fill in the gaps.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Fay. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I said it'll be a softball question, but I'll make a quick comment first. But Courtney, we were having a similar issue where we didn't get street sweeping for the first 6 weeks. I'll put Commissioner Holden directly in touch with the DPW folks if he doesn't have that information already. And then I will say that that Enrique and Stephanie did come out and helped us address a couple of pickup issues with trash in the alley. And this was a route restructuring issue where it had been transitioned from one team to the other. And you just have to, respectfully and responsibly make a bunch of noise because they're looking for the holes that are out there. And so the more noise you make appropriately, the more they know where they need to focus. Enrique, the question for you is, it's like your first 2 months in the job on Ward 1. What are a couple of observations that you would share with us with fresh eyes about Ward 1 and ANC 1B?
Well, I'll say a lot of these issues I already seen when I was just a regular resident of Ward 1, so nothing is really new to me. I do have neighbors that I've seen these issues over and over again. I have even in my own building, I do have my own rodents as well. So believe it, rodents and trash everywhere is the more common issue. But that's welcome to Ward 1, where we have one of the most dense, condensed areas in DC, where it's residents, businesses, restaurants, the whole shebang. So nothing out of that as I've seen public safety issues, things of that nature. I've seen this as well. So I just more got into like the nuts and bolts of all this of like, okay, who do I reach out to DPW, DC Water, MPD for public safety issues, et cetera, et cetera. So that is essentially kind of what I transitioned over to.
Great. It's only a problem when you've started to name the rodents, and it sounds like you're not there yet, so that's good.
Yeah, well, that's an endemic issue, unfortunately. But to kind of bring this actually to the commission as well as the public as well, that our your partners over at 1C at the ADVO bid, they particularly have a particular initiative from DOH where they are starting a pilot program on the alley, like right behind the McDonald's and the Line Hotel. I forget what the alley is called, but um, they are starting a pilot program for rodent abatement where it's essentially rodent birth control. So essentially, that is kind of where previous data from other pilot programs are very successful, and we hope to replicate that as soon as possible. So that is what we hope to expand once we get that data back from the ADMO bid and DOH to hopefully expand it to 1B as well, and hopefully eventually across all of the district. So rodents, we hate them.
Thank you for that. 1B is happy to be the guinea pig for any rodent abatement. We're happy to be the host of experimenting. People are incredibly frustrated. Also, not that this is in your control, but just putting in a bug, we would love to have more smart bins for our compost and more slots in the residential single-family compost pickup program. Remember, if you're ever asked that Ward 1 by tonnage composts more than every other ward, we're very excited about those programs, and we'd love to see them be made permanent and more accessible to more people. We only have 4 smart bins in our ward, all on the western side of the ward. I'll read a couple items from the Q&A. We don't always have time to do that, but I think today we can risk it. As a comment, says one attendee, I have seen the use of gray drainage rock to fill in holes where ground voles have hollowed out burrows in the ground, but these were also close to areas where children are present. There's a concern that the gray drainage rock is very sharp and can hurt young children. So a suggestion to not use that rock places where children play. Also have another trash can comment. Is there any hope of replacing the cans along 14th Street with units that could actually hold pizza boxes and the like? Andrew, this is a fantastic comment. As I'm sure we all see, the current cans are completely inadequate and often have trash spilling out of them all over the street and sidewalk because the tops of the cans are too narrow for the food containers and other boxes that people drop on top of them. Enrique would love to actually talk about that. And aside from my difficulty in placing new trash bins, I have had a lot of difficulty trying to get recycling bins placed up and down 14th Street, which would be great given the number of bottles and cans that are kind of blowing around outside of convenience stores, especially. So, Andrew, thanks for that. I'll take that away to talk with Mokers about that. And from Mike, little FYI, if you do a 311 rodent request, they come out in 1 to 2 days, Mike advises. Thanks for the comments. Thank you, Enrique, for your appearance as always. We'll be talking trash very soon.
Please do.
Everyone's favorite. And that wraps up our announcements section. Are there any commissioners with announcements? Or other community members with announcements? Seeing none, we can move into our committee reports. And we're back at the top of the alphabetical rotation. So ABCR's first, Commissioner Hanrahan, tell us how many placards you did not consider this month with a sigh of relief.
No placards. Yeah. Woo. We are happy about that. Yeah. I mean, it feels like that didn't happen because we've been doing so much other stuff. But we didn't have any new business. We're working into some of the policy things. Gonna get back on that resolution by August or sometime. And look into our SOPs more. We're having like a lot of discussion about the Noise Balance Amendment Act, and we're gonna try and come up with a draft resolution at our next committee meeting. I owe our committee kind of a send out on some of that draft work already, so we can work more collaboratively on that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of going at the committee level. We're really kind of doing some more policy work right now, which is great. And it's good to hear some of these updates from the council member about the website and the ABC board, which is really good. Yeah. And yeah, that's about it, I think. Cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks. It's the way that ABCR should always end its update. Appreciate that. Community Engagement Committee, Mr. Wilkins.
Yes. So I'm glad we talked about voting a little bit because that was one part of my update. So one of the things that our committees really focus on is making sure education's out there. So if you've looked at the ANC 1B calendar, we've listed some upcoming sessions, both virtual and in person. So definitely want to encourage folks to make sure they're attending that. And if not, I would encourage everyone to go to the DC Board of Election website, which I can put in the chat. It has some test or some sample examples of ranked choice voting, as well as all the information on early voting, in-person voting. If you need to register to vote or confirm that you're registered, please check that out. And then the other exciting update, or I guess more exciting update that I have is, I think as I've shared before and previous engagement updates have included this, is our farmers market survey. So last year we started a crusade of investigating bringing a farmers market back to 1B, and just to get get feedback from the commission, we've created a survey. I'm going to drop it in the chat in a minute, and I encourage everyone to take a few minutes after this meeting to fill out the survey, share it with your neighbors, as well as we'll be sending it out to everyone. But want to make sure we're collecting feedback and getting ideas. If folks have not looked, I'm happy to send this also. But we also have a list of farmers markets that are in the area. So not specifically in 1B, but I know yesterday Columbia Heights just started doing their Wednesday farmers market as well as Saturday. And then there's a number of other ones that are revamping now that the weather is warm again. So sending that, and then just to give you guys a preview, there's a number of block parties and community events that are being planned for June and the summer. So look forward to hearing from us on those plans.
Thank you, Al. I am actually working in another window here to put together our newsletter right now. So if you make sure I have that link, I'd love to get that product out today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you guys, the whole committee, for taking an interest in that over multiple months. Commissioners, as always, if you have your own listservs for your constituents, this would be a good thing to retransmit to them, the farmers market survey. That said, we can move on to the Committee on Economic Development, Commissioner Fay.
All right, short report this month. We did not meet. We did not meet in April. We will be meeting in May. We've invited DemPed to come and give an update on the Reeves Center. We did hear a little bit about that from the council members' comments. So it's good to hear that some dollars are being put forward by the city. This is just a project that's been stalled for lots of different reasons. Some of it was logistics with the district government moving out. Some of it had to do with changing economic conditions. But it's a really important corner for Ward 1, for ANC 1B in particular. And so we're looking forward to getting some updates there. We know that there have been a number of developments in terms of design plans and phasing of the building. Second item is getting an update from the Business Improvement District that is continuing to work to form in and along the U Street corridor. I understand from the folks who are leading that effort that they are in the process of collecting signatures. So really important step in the process of getting petitions signed by property owners and to make sure that they have enough folks who are in support. So that process is underway, and we'll look forward to getting an update at the May meeting. And come and join us. I'll make sure that we get the word out if we have any other additional items on the agenda, but those will be the two big ones.
Thank you very much. And the Committee on Public Safety, Commissioner Barrio.
Hello, not too many updates. We are examining what it would look like to expand safe passage to elementary schools, whether DC should be studying such an expansion. So obviously, I'm a little concerned after hearing from Councilmember Nadeau that could be challenging given the district's current fiscal challenges and budgetary reckoning. Overall, in terms of crime, the good news is that crimes have gone down over the past month in ANC 1B compared to the last month, from 115 total crimes to just 58. Violent crime also went down according to DC crime cards, from 13 incidents last month to 7 incidents in, sorry, the previous month to 7 incidents in the past month, 1 month, prior to today. And we've also sort of seen assaults with a dangerous weapon stay kind of flat. So that does not seem like it's been declining, especially year to date. That still seems to be relatively flat. We've had, let's see here, 10 assaults with a deadly weapon year to date, and that was the same as the previous period beforehand. So we're continuing to monitor that. No other updates.
Okay, thank you. And the Committee on Transportation, Parks, and Public Space, Commissioner Holden, tell us how happy you are to hear that that the bus priority projects are in good budgetary shape.
Very excited about capital money for bus priority projects, but not excited about agenda item for our next week's meeting is that, as a little preview, earlier this budget season, or the WMATA budget specifically, they had announced additional money for expanded service on a lot of routes. Some of the routes being on U Street, like the C51, which is currently like sometimes bus. It's like hourly or something. I forget exactly the schedule, but they were gonna add additional service and frequency on some of the U Street routes, and that has been cut. So some other ANCs are thinking about passing a resolution to ask that money be reinstated for the improved bus service. So I think we're going to discuss that next week if anyone's interested in that. Another interesting item that we will be talking about next week is Cleveland Elementary School on like 8th and T is embarking on a updated Safe Routes to School plan. I think they last had a plan in like 2020 in a previous round of Safe Routes to Schools. They're just kicking one off, and they've launched a community survey. So maybe I can post in the chat a link to that survey. We're going to discuss the survey next week at the meeting, and then see if we have any, start to think about what recommendations to that study from the ANC could look like. I've shared our past resolutions with them that we've kind of raised some safety concerns around the school, especially during pickup and drop off times. So I've shared that with the team. So they're looking at that. And then later today, we'll be talking about the Vermont Avenue bike lane, which we discussed last meeting, and have a resolution for.
Thank you for that. I'm also going to add the Cleveland survey to the newsletter. If there's like a convenient blurb that is already written up to explain what the safe routes to school are, could you slide that over?
Yep, I'll send something to you.
Thank you. And finally, the Committee on Zoning Preservation and Development, Mr. Brandt.
Hi, everyone. So we have one thing on the agenda today, which I won't spoil, but it's a Historic Preservation Review Board case. At our last meeting, we had also intended to discuss a zoning commission map amendment case that has been filed, but the applicant in that case is working with Woodwright Parks Citizens Association on an MOU, and they were not ready at that point in time, so we didn't discuss it then. Theoretically, we will discuss it at an upcoming meeting. Whether that is in May or June is up to the applicant. We are also hoping to, in May, have a discussion with Councilmember Nadeau's office and or Councilmember Allen's office about the housing omnibus bill. Councilmember Nadeau talked about this a little bit earlier. There's a lot of components of it that are very interesting and that the committee is interested in. And then also talking about the Fair Share, the Housing Targets Act that Councilmember Nadeau mentioned as well. So that's what you can expect for our May meeting. As of now, we don't actually have any, I haven't got wind of any HPO cases or any other new zoning cases or BZA cases for that matter. So the meeting will probably focus on those two pieces of legislation. So that's what you can expect.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're like heading into our summer lull. It's a nice little break. Administrative section. I don't believe we have any executive officers reports unless our treasurer pops his head up. Our treasurer's popped off the call. Okay, so we will move on to yes, hooray, the hybrid meeting equipment. Commissioner Fay.
And I know with that kind of enthusiasm, I'm gonna have to punt. Well, I spent 4 hours in a protest hearing yesterday, and you know where I was today.
I do know.
So I spent a little bit too much time on ABCA related items working with Commissioner Hanrahan and Chair Trindade. So yeah, I will send this around to the commissioners in a short PowerPoint so you can take a look at it. And then we will present it at our next meeting where we may have already purchased our items, but we'll submit it to OANC for the funding.
Okay, great. Trying to solve our problems of our microphone woes at our in-person meetings. Should be very nice. Okay, on to new business, please. Some of this is no longer on the agenda. Y'all, we're going to get out of here early. First thing we have is from Commissioner Fay, letter of support for arts and public spaces in Ledroit. And we've also promoted Ayana. Ayana, you could unmute yourself at the appropriate time. Go ahead, Commissioner Fay.
Great, thanks. All right. So one of the things that we are working on and getting good at in Ledroit Park is writing grants. And so we are looking out for different opportunities to get grant funding for various initiatives and programs that we are looking to launch in Ledroit Park. One of the opportunities that Ayana Adams, who chairs our Ledroit Park Civic Association Green Spaces Committee, found was for an artistry on public spaces program. And so we presented and approved a letter of support from the Ledroit Park Civic Association. We received online through the course of the week, I think, and Ayana can clarify, over 65 signatures on a petition, which is also required for the grant. And the last step in the process is to present at this committee's meeting and to get a letter of support from the commission. So I'm going to turn it over to Ayana to present, but I also have a presentation that I'm going to pull up so that Ayana can take us through that. And Ayana, you are welcome to come on camera if you would like to, and you are also welcome to stay hidden if that is better for you. There she is. Great.
I can. Yes, here I am. Hi. Yeah, so Matt, thank you for sharing this presentation. So like Commissioner Fay mentioned, this is something that we've been wanting to do here in the neighborhood for a while. I think all of us are familiar with what the traffic boxes look like in our neighborhoods, where there are intersections with traffic lights. It's a utility box or a traffic box. And ours is actually that one pictured on the left on your screen. That is the one at the entrance, sort of the, symbolic entrance to Ledroit Park at the corner of 6th and T in Florida. Often, remnants of wheat paste posters that have been half torn off or, half falling off. And it's just not lovely. We have talked for a long time in our public spaces committee about wanting to cover these. It's just not a cost that our neighborhood can support, really. So around the town, the one on the right on your screen is one over at 15th and Q. It's not in our neighborhood, but it's an example of what the city allows for. DDOT has a program called Arts in the Right of Way, and they allow for traffic utility boxes to be covered with a vinyl wrapping as long as there is no lettering. It can't, be promotional for anything. It can be an image, and it can't be any dark colors that would make the box any hotter in the sun, especially in the summertime. If you want to go to the next slide. So the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities has a public art building communities grant, and we talked about wanting to apply as a civic association, but they only allow 501c3, not 501c4 organizations to apply, or they allow for individual artists to apply. So we decided that I would apply as an individual artist. I have done multiple other art projects here in LeDroit Park. I did the art for a little free library that's in our playground at the park at LeDroit. I did a couple of the call boxes, historic call boxes, and I did a couple of small murals on the back of our poster boards at the park as well. So there are 3 boxes that we're trying to get money for to cover 6th, 4th, and 2nd and T. Which sort of is symbolically from one end of our neighborhood to the other. Our neighborhood is from 6th to 2nd, and it spans, a couple blocks north and south as well. We got a quote back in November from a company that has done other boxes in the city, and I was given them as a name by the Arrow program representative, a company that had done good work in the past. They quoted us about $2,500 each. The grant allows for up to 75,000 for artists who are applying. This will be much less than that. It will be less than 10,000 that we will be needing to do these 3 boxes. They are graffiti resistant, which, as you can imagine, is important for something like this. And you'll see on the next slide, there are a couple of designs that I can show you now that I'm I'm still working on. This is a rough draft. And the 3rd box, then I will be asking for, and I have asked for and received a lot of feedback on what the neighborhood has as suggestions. The first design here that you see is the one that would go at 6th and T, and it's sort of a child-friendly design, I think you could say, in the American folk art tradition. And the reason why I wanted to go this way is because a lot of the children in our neighborhood, when they're walking to our local elementary school, which is Cleveland Elementary, they go to that intersection. Almost all the children in our neighborhood have to pass through that intersection. And it's Florida and T. It's sort of a busy intersection, loud in the mornings. And I thought, well, it'd be nice for the kids to have something, sort of pretty and nice to look at on their way to school. There will not be as much blank space as you see there. This is just a rough draft. I'm still working. Each piece is really detailed because, this is quite a large design. But as you probably know, blank space is an invitation to be tagged. So there will not be much blank space. I'm going to fill it in with lots of other, animals and flowers and trees, but all in that design. The next slide shows the design for the box at 4th and T. This is a botanical design, as you can see, lots of, flowers, and it's all line drawn. I drew each piece. So it was a lot of work. One of the things for this grant is that you have to submit the artwork with the grant request. And so it's a lot of work and not a certain outcome for me, but I am doing it for my love of the neighborhood and not, I will not be paying myself market rate for these designs. If you want to go to the next one, this shows a close-up of that first design, the American folk art sort of children's one. And as you can see, each piece is fairly detailed because it will be blown up quite large. And the next one is a close-up of the other design, the botanical design. And each one is line drawn. So those are the designs. I am asking for the ANC a letter of support, which is necessary. It's one of the requirements with this grant to show community support.
So we have a letter of support. First off, we're incredibly fortunate to have Ayana in our community. I don't know if she has officially accepted the title of resident artist, but we certainly respect her as such. And we have drafted a letter of support for the ANC to vote on tonight. I don't know if Chair, you're able to pull that up quickly. Otherwise, I can try to do it.
Ooh.
Let me see if I can scroll
Go
through
ahead.
really
I don't
quickly.
think
Yeah.
it's in. I don't think it's in my inbox.
Oh, it's at the very back of the agenda.
Oh, I can do it quickly then.
Yeah, we have the Capitol Pride and then the letter of support.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Here it comes.
There it is. So it's addressed to the DC Commission of Arts and Humanities. And essentially it says Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1B, which represents the greater U Street corridor, including the neighborhood of LaDroit Park, supports the grant application for artist Ayanna Adams, who you have now all met and seen her talents firsthand, for the creation of art vinyl wraps to cover 3 utility boxes within LaDroit Park neighborhood. And it just talks a little bit more about what Ayanna talked about the T Street linking the LaDroit Park community. And so, as Ayanna mentioned, this is a requirement of the grant application, is that she present this at a publicly noticed Advisory Neighborhood Commission meeting, that the commission vote in support of this letter, and that it would be included then in her package of information to the grant. This, it seems, will be far, far easier a task in the grant process than all of the hours she has taken in drawing the other artwork. And so I am asking for your support in passing this letter. Ayanna, is there anything as you see the final version that we need to correct, or is this good to go?
That looked good to me. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
So I move that the commission vote in support of this letter for the public art project in LaDroit Park.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Debate discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the letter as presented, please raise your Zoom hands. I've got 7 in favor, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
And Diana, before you drop off, just a quick question that Commissioner Barrio may be interested in. Is this artist grant program available for public art in the form of murals?
Yeah, as far as I understand, it is. There are some restrictions, and I was not reading through the restrictions with that in mind. But as far as I recall, the only restriction was that it could not be to restore any existing public art. So it could not be used to restore an existing mural or something else. Yeah, but I think it could be used for murals. Yeah.
So Commissioner Barrio, we'll send you the link to the grant program so that you can investigate that for the 9.5 Street mural project as a potential additional source of funding.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been looking at the Public Arts Building Communities grant, and it is a very generous one if you can get it. As Ayanna shared, the work that goes into getting this grant is not easy because you need to provide them finalized designs, which is generally something that artists are compensated for, as they should be, and that are generally not finished until a project is ready to begin and has been confirmed. So, I am really supportive of this, and it's great to see local artists who are willing to put in the work for something that is so uncertain. So I really hope that you all you get the funding for these boxes. The designs are beautiful.
All right. Ayanna, thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thanks very much to Ayanna. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, Francois, for all your respective efforts to beautify the U Street corridor. Let's go to our letter of support for Capitol Pride from Al Wilkins of the CE Committee. And I can pull this one up too and share it.
Thank you. So this is just following up on Christopher Thompson from Capitol Pride's presentation earlier tonight. As he shared, ANC 1B is part of the kickoff to the parade, starting at 14th and T. And this is just a letter to share with the mayor as well as the events director that we've heard from them, as well as we're supportive and we're excited about Capitol Pride and our commission's involvement in it. And I'm happy to read it if that's helpful, but it's obviously on the screen too.
I'll just summarize. We pay tribute to the history of Pride, which began as Gay Pride Day in 1975. I love how dated that sounds now. Capital Pride Alliance is the sponsor and producer, one of DC's most significant community events, of course, and requests that the mayor's office and special event task group facilitate and prioritize the approvals, permits, arrangements, and requisite support. And we pledge our continued support to the Capital Pride Alliance and the broader LGBTQI+ community. Thank you for the letter. Love the historical touch. Always gets me. I will move that we adopt the letter as presented.
Second.
It's seconded. Any debate?
Hold it. I don't know how you do that so fast every
He's-
single time because you're literally on mute and then you say it.
I'm moving stuff along, Commissioner.
Obsessed. All right. All those in favor of adopting the letter as presented, please raise your zoomies. We've got 7. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Next on the agenda is ZPD's letter of support regarding the HPRB case in Ledroit Park. I believe we have a little complication to talk through.
Yes. So I'm going to try to keep this brief because it's a very straightforward case that has become just a little bit complicated for a variety of reasons. And I have the stuff pulled up if we want to see it. But basically, this is a single family. It's not a single family house, but it's a owner occupied application where they would like to enclose a third of their front porch, which, just to be clear, it's on the side of their house, not the front, but it is still the access point to the house through the front door. They'd like to enclose a third of that in glass, and they need to get a historic review permit for it. The applicant let us know during the ZPD meeting that the purpose of this was twofold. One was to help them deal with package theft, and I believe the other issue was to deal with draftiness in their front door. There was lots of discussion about this at the committee because there were some committee members who did not feel that it who felt that it did not meet the design guidelines within the Ledroit Park Historic District. There were some other committee members who felt that it was a relatively minor intervention. All things considered, I think it's important to note that this is on U Street in Ledroit Park, and it is one of the streets in the historic district that is still largely consists of homes that are accurate to the time period the historic district that's relevant to the historic district. So the committee voted on this application, and initially it was a tie, and so then I voted, and the committee voted against recommending support for the application. I do want to share a little bit of my take on this, which is that it does not seem to be supported by HPO staff, who Commissioner Fay and I have been in touch with. And also it does seem to not be allowed under the historic district guidelines. But I also agree that it's not a significant intervention in the sense that it's only a third of the porch, and also it will be visible but difficult to see from the street. And then in addition to that, I wasn't particularly convinced by the applicant's arguments about why this was necessary. It did not actually seem, based on how they described it, that it would actually solve either of the problems that they were explaining that it was needed for. And then lastly, I didn't think that the ZPD and then thus the ANC, I'm not sure that I really wanted us to be in a position where we would be recommending approval for something that seems obviously not allowed under the design guidelines, whether or not it seemed like a worthwhile pursuit. So all that is to say, the applicant has indicated to both Commissioner Fay and I that they are that they have asked HPO to take their case off of the May HPRB agenda, so that they can pursue additional updates to it and work with their HPO staff person, to revise the application so that it meets the condition or the requirements in the historic district guidelines. However, the HPRB agenda went out either today or yesterday. I think it was today, and they are still listed on the agenda. So I don't think it's particularly worth delving into all the nitty-gritty about this, although I'm happy to share the design concepts that the applicants provided. I do also want to note that they are not here today to talk about their case. But I do think in the event that they continue, that they are actually going to go in front of the HPRB in May, I think Commissioner Fay and I were discussing this. We think that it is worthwhile to vote on this so that the ANC can make sure that it has a documented way, that we've weighed in on it in a documented way. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Matt.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is just that the applicants live down the street. They have communicated that they're planning to take this off. They thought they had. I emailed them today and I said, you don't realize how many things get triggered by the HPRB agenda, right? I mean, it's not like an idle thing. And as soon as I said that, a newsletter from Bloomingdale came out saying this thing's on the HPRB agenda. So the thought here is that we're hoping that tonight's vote is kind of a moot point, but we don't want to miss the opportunity for the ANC to weigh in. My recommendation, honestly, is just to go with the ZPD committee recommendation, with the expectation that we will transmit this to the HPO if it's still on the agenda by the end of the day tomorrow. And if it's not on the agenda and it's been taken off, then the letter doesn't really go anyplace. But this is just us making sure that we're covering our bases and doing our due diligence.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the case.
We'll hear a motion.
I move to approve the letter of support. Just to be clear, the ZPD did not support. I moved to the letter of support for the HPRB case at 402 U Street Northwest.
But just a clarifying question, it's a letter of not support, right?
Well, what actually happens is that we would vote on the letter of support, which was what they were requesting, by not supporting it. Essentially, that's the message that we're sending to HPO.
The committee's recommendation is to vote no on this letter.
Yes. Well,
okay. I'm confused now.
I don't know exactly how this works, but the way that the motion that we did at the committee was to not support the application.
Sure.
So this is, I guess, a letter of not support, because the way that I drafted the letter says that the ANC does not support the application. So
okay.
Got it. Sorry.
Yeah. So the double negatives are very confusing. So if you a yes vote on the letter of support is agreeing with the ZPD that we should not support this application.
Right.
What should we call it? A letter of support then?
No, just okay. It's just a letter.
It's just a letter.
Okay, yeah. So the letter.
Do you support the letter? Or do you not support
right. A letter expressing our opposition to
It's a protest. It's a protest.
Yeah,
it's a protest.
We haven't yet had the opportunity to do something like that because we've supported everything that's come by the committee. So
yeah.
And I've also been asked by the president of the Ledroit Park Civic Association, who is downstairs, to clarify that this was pulled off the LPCA agenda at the request of the applicant. So
yes,
the LPCA did not vote on it at their request. So they will not be weighing in advance of the HPRB meeting.
Okay. All right. The motion is to approve the letter conveying the commission's objection to the HPRB case.
Second.
Thank you. Any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I'm not sure I'm comfortable voting against supporting it. I worry about putting the ANC in a position where we're already against this application. Regardless of whether it's being brought or not. I personally don't really see the need for the ANC to clearly say that we're not going to allow someone to cover a very small portion of their porch. So that's just my opinion. I don't want us to spend too much time on it, but I do think that, if we're going to take a stance, it is a stance, and I'm a little worried about sending the signal that we're just doing this because of time or because of maybe being on agenda for a meeting. Like, we either support it or we don't, want to take a stance.
I mean, Francois, I'll be honest. Like I was hoping that this wasn't going to have to be a vote. So the folks who presented the application came away from the meeting with the ZPD and said, "We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate Brendan's feedback. We are going to go back and we're going to take a different approach with this." And then when I spoke to them again, in a different setting, they had said, "Yep, we're not going to be pursuing a presentation at the HPRB."
Yeah,
When
so if they're not pursuing a presentation, we don't actually have to submit a letter. I
Brendan,
agree with Commissioner Barrio. I don't support sending a letter of not supporting because HPRB will just ask if they do go to a hearing, they will ask, do you have a letter of support from the ANC? They will look and see there is no letter of support on file. So then at that point, their concerns, they will likely push it back to the ANC. Like, we don't have to take action on this.
okay, and I think, Commissioner Harris, it's helpful to hear, right, from a process perspective. I think I was following the framework that Brendan Meyer was following, where he said, if this goes to the HPRB and it's on the agenda, I, Brendan Meyer, have to write a position statement on this application. And so I was thinking, kind of based on what he had said, that
Wait, I'm sorry, who's Brendan Meyer again?
Oh, he's the HPO staffer who's responsible for
Yeah,
Lloyd
that's
Park.
different. He's a staffer. We're not. He has to. That's his job. We do not have to.
But the point is that they would have to write a report and say, I mean, it would just say that the ANC did not submit a letter.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
and that signal in itself that the ANC didn't send a letter, so they will say, okay, what like they'll push it back.
Well, I think I would vote against this, but I think like we could still vote to send the letter if that's how the zoning committee felt, and that's how, if that's how the commissioner representing the area feels, we can still vote on the letter one way or another. I think putting an opinion out there is typically better than not, and people can just vote yes or no.
I'm just talking about the process in general. I don't know how many of y'all, and this isn't, I don't mean this to sound any way negative, but I don't know how many of y'all have attended an HPRB hearing, but like we don't have to, our non-letter is basically non-support. But regardless, if we're still, I mean, the motion's on the table. I'm not supporting this non-supporting letter. That's where
yeah. I mean, look, this is we haven't done very many HPRB cases, and we certainly haven't done anywhere the applicant has said, I'm not going to HPRB, but then is still on the agenda. So this is one of those confusing cases. I'm certainly happy to withdraw it, right?
It also just takes a while for them to get off the agenda. When are they supposed to have their hearing?
May
May
26th.
23rd.
Yeah, it
So,
just takes them a while. So like
whichever date. I do just want to add one little note, and that is that when the ZPD voted on this, the applicants were still planning to move forward with the application at HPRB and at and go to Ledroit Park Civic Association. So in the minds of the committee when we voted on this, there was it wasn't we weren't voting on. I think if the applicant had said at that moment in time, we're actually not going to do this, we'd like for you to not vote on this, we would have not voted on it. But they wanted to move forward with it, so we did vote on it. So I just wanted to add that little bit of clarification that when the vote at ZPD happened, it was under the guise of the applicant continuing on with the application through the rest of the process.
And we may as well understand this thoroughly now. The president of the Detroit Park Civic Association, who's downstairs from Matt, mentioned that they didn't consider this, or they were not submitting a letter. And is that also a requirement of the process, or is that a nice to have?
I think what
It's
Matt, you
nice
were
to
saying,
have.
the applicant withdrew the case from Leroy Park Civic Association's agenda, so it just wasn't even considered.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm asking if
Association
there is the
they have
absence
no
of the letter
standing,
from.
by the
Right.
way. So it's just a nice to have, just like it is when when developers will go next door and ask like for support for, let's say, BZA or a zoning
Yeah.
commission hearing, but like they don't need, no offense to civic associations, but it's just it's not the same thing like a protest.
Yep. Okay. Does the motion stand, or are you withdrawing?
I'm happy to withdraw. I mean,
Okay.
it sounds like there's enough confusion, and I will communicate with Brendan so that he has our position that this was not formally presented to the ANC, which it wasn't. It went to one of our committees, but there was no presentation by the applicant to the ANC, and that would be a step that we would request they take. And to Sable's point, my hope in the process is that the HPRB would require that the applicant return to the ANC before they would consider the case.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And next we have a resolution from TPPS on the bike lane on Vermont Avenue between 11th and Florida. Commissioner Holden.
Great. I'm gonna try to share my screen. We got a notice of intent.
I can do it as well.
Okay, I think I can do it.
Oh. Won't show your face, but you'll show your
My
resolution.
camera's broken. This is a new computer and it says camera broken, so I don't know what's going on. So anyway, here's like a summary at the top. We'll get to a diagram in a minute, but we previously have talked about the 11th Street bike lane, the section that goes through 1B from S to Florida. This is kind of a related project, kind of a spur of that project that goes from S/11th to Florida Avenue on Vermont Street currently, or Vermont Avenue. Currently, Vermont is, let's do the map. So you can kind of see what they're doing with 11th, and then currently in that box, the before or the current, there are no bike facilities on Vermont Avenue. And then on the proposed bike facilities, you can see that blue line is what's called buffered bike lanes. If you don't know the term, you've seen them before probably. They, instead of having like flex posts or concrete protection, this is the current layout here with a parking lane and then two travel lanes in either direction. The proposed change is maintaining the parking. So there's barely any removal of parking, and the parking removal that does occur is about 9 spaces, and that's actually related to some bus stop changes, not the bike lane. But so keeping the parking, a bike lane, then a like painted, instead of just like a standard painted stripe, it's like a wider buffered area with more space to keep cars further away from cyclists, and then also a buffer on either side of the median. We mention a lot the Vermont Avenue Garden Party. The buffer on either side of the median is the idea there is to kind of help people, especially if they're like looking after the flowers or the plants, not on garden party days where there's lots of people out and maybe like clotheslines and stuff. But giving some extra buffered space around that if people are like watering or maintaining stuff at other times of the year. And then that same condition on the other side. So travel lane, buffer, bike lane, parking lane. If we go down, this talks about the proposed parking changes, but that is for these bus stop changes, which I'll get to, I think, next. This shows kind of the new traffic operations the main difference here, Vermont's basically going to be the same, except for you won't be able to turn right to go north on 11th anymore, but that's because 11th Street is becoming one-way southbound from Florida to S. So that's the main difference. The rest of Vermont will operate as the same. This is kind of showing like the flow of traffic because of this. And we kind of addressed this with previous resolutions. So we don't mention that in this one. But the bus stop issue is, so the current bus stops are these red dots on the southeast corner of Vermont and U Street, and then by the metro station. With the southeast stop, we're moving it, or they're moving it, excuse me, north of U Street a little bit. This has some benefits because the current stop is kind of a substandard location. There's not a lot of room right by the stop. There's a little bit of room on the corner, but where the stop itself is, people tend to congregate on the front porches and steps in the yards of the people who live there, and it's kind of hard to walk around the bus stop if a lot of people are waiting. And it's also it's right at the light. So moving it north of U Street kind of moves it away from the houses, and also gets it on the other side of the light, so you don't have to wait for the light to change. So it should hopefully make it a little easier for the bus to move through the intersection. The concern that people from the committee had, most of the concerns in the resolution actually have to do with the bus stops, is that the sidewalk north of U Street is also kind of narrow. So we're just hoping that like the new stop, we're asking for like upgrades to the sidewalk, potentially like a bump out or a floating bus stop, and a shelter if possible. The current width of the sidewalk, I don't think would allow for a shelter. So just making sure that they're moving it to a new location, but also creating a good bus stop. On the other side, the bus stop is actually in a better location than I believe where they're moving it to. It's right by the metro. So if you needed to take the bus after getting off the metro, it's very convenient. They're moving it to be the north side of U Street because this blue dot is a new bus layover instead of a stop. So it's like where buses would park at like the end of a shift or the end of the route. So that's actually what's removing a bunch of the parking. And so we had some concerns about that. Just like moving this bus stop north of U Street is maybe a worse location, and just asking them to consider that, or see if they could co-locate the stop and the layover or some change like that. Were kind of the concerns with that, and we can get into that in a second in the resolution itself, which I guess is now, because that is the end of the NOI. So, oh no, I had it pulled up and now I don't. Okay, so it's 6 points. The committee is supportive of moving the bus stop on the southeast corner of U Street to the northeast corner, but concerned about the amount of sidewalk space available. Please consider a bump out or floating bus island, adequate lighting, and keeping the stop as close to the intersection as possible to maintain safety and accessibility. Also concerned about the moving the stop from south of U Street to north of U Street on the other side, which could degrade service potentially, and concerned about the layover, like I said. Some committee members are concerned about the lack of protection on the buffered bike lane, especially with potentially people illegally parking too far over, so they might like block the bike lane. So just asking for the need for enforcement with the change, and just to monitor the lanes for safety issues, and if any issues do arise, like kind of having a willingness to address the issues and fix the installation if necessary. We talked about this, especially because it's a new and kind of different treatment in the area, considering gateway treatments that clearly flag the vehicles, that the bike facilities are bike facilities and not parking or travel lanes. A gateway treatment would be something that, like, as you kind of enter on Vermont at any of the intersections, that like helps designate that it's the bike lane. So either like a bike lane sign or kind of like daylighting at the intersections to make it more obvious which lane is which. And then also we've started putting this in a lot of the bike lane resolutions, but to begin construction as fast as possible to close the gap in the network. So if anyone has any questions, now would be the time.
I do. Um, can you say a little bit more about the layover? What is the physical infrastructure for that? Or is it really just a painted space that's signposted for only WMATA?
Yeah, so it'll mostly be signage. There already is the concrete pad that's there because it's like converting the existing stop into is it? No. Yes. It's converting the existing stop into
Yeah.
here, but then extending it some because they say there's going to be 9 spaces. What is it? Removed, so it'll extend further south as well, I suppose. Bus stop rebalancing. Add a bus stop layover to support Monroe Island.
Oh, that says 1.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there isn't parking there right now. So the 1 must be, I don't actually know where the 1 would be.
It's 9. Is that the 2000 block?
Yeah, it's the 1900 block.
It's the 900. Okay.
Because the only parking is in that inlet there, the little, yeah.
It
So I don't
doesn't.
even know.
I do wish that they highlighted on. They didn't really give a diagram of where the spots were
Yeah, I see that.
going, like a map of where the spaces would be removed would be helpful. Maybe that's a suggestion we can give to them for future NOIs.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because well, I guess this really makes no better, but also no worse. The problem of not having easy communication between the memorial and the museum. If there's no pedestrian crosswalk there.
Yeah,
But
so
it's the
there's no mid-block
which is for a lot of
stopping.
reasons.
Yeah.
Right. Not to relitigate that or litigate it for the first time, but that is kind of annoying. I
Yeah.
guess if there's no, this really isn't impeding any potential future project. If there's no hard infrastructure being built, it's really just going to be
Right.
a parking space, a long parking space for a bus.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Kenzik.
Yeah, so the objective is I'm trying to understand this. I apologize. I'm listening. I'm just not really getting it. So what are we trying to gain here?
So with the layover.
Yeah.
So the layover is often where they would stage buses during like a shift change or like at the start or an end of a route are kind of the reasons why they have this. And so it's basically just like a place that they can park the bus while it's not being used, like in between routes or shifts, or like it's really I think largely for when people are switching shifts because they can't always go back to the yard or wherever the garage, the depot, you know. I know there's some they've done this downtown at a couple places like along Farragut Square. There's kind of like some layovers there that often happen.
And the current traffic flow that's there now, it still will remain 1 lane for or I guess 1.5 kind of lanes, because the buses would be parked, I guess, along that gray or cement area there. So
Right.
but the potential is though just more congestion in the area, right?
Yeah, because A little bit potentially, I think, because currently now, as operating as just a regular bus stop, there's just buses there sometimes. The people will see parked buses here for longer periods of time than they're used to. So that's kind of like the downgrade. And then also moving the bus up here north of U Street, across the intersection from the metro. People would have to wait for the light if they're changing from the bus to the metro or vice versa. So those are kind of the downgrades. And that's what we kind of tried to get at in the letter, that like that's a concern of ours.
Okay. That
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do have a just general question for you. I'm sure you heard recently with the mayor's cuts with a lot of the bus and transportation. Anything with the committee on their thoughts on? I think believe she cut like $6 million.
Yeah, so that most recent cut that happened after our committee meeting, but we have one next week, and that's going to be an agenda item for next week.
Got it. Okay, I'll try to attend. Thank you. I appreciate it, Commissioner Holden.
Yep, no problem. Okay,
Yes.
well, I
We've
do
got
see a
a
question in the
yeah.
audience.
John put an item in the Q&A also asking about the ANC support for changing, I think possibly a defunct bus stop into pickup drop-off space, which is something we love to do, John. And I remember we looked at that space out the window from Icon. Let me. You can unmute if you want to add any more detail, but it's definitely something the Transportation Committee would love to consider. Goes hand in hand with some other projects we're doing up and down U Street on switching parking to pick up drop off.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I just wanted to kind of say that basically, currently they've moved that bus stop, but it's still considered a bus lane as far as the signage goes. I did submit a ticket through 301 and DDOT to ask them to remove the bus sign, the no parking right there on the right there on the image. That's the only thing left right now. And then I requested if we could put short-term parking there because I think that would be really good, obviously, for us and all the other businesses through there, America's Best Wings, Oohs and Ahs, and the other light food delivery places right there to the right of us. So any support we can get on that would be lovely.
Hey, John, quick question for you. Have you noticed anybody actually, customers using those outdoor uh, restaurants they made during COVID that I still don't understand why still are on the streets?
No, they're all abandoned at this point in that general area.
Is that something we could look into do, like to help push? I mean, we pushed for other things in housing for as a commission. Why not push for DC to get rid of these? I mean, they're just taking up space at the.
Commissioner, we did pass a resolution asking for them to remove the abandoned ones and the eyesore ones at the end of last year. So if there's specific ones that still exist that people have in mind, we should, people reach out and we can kind of like try to escalate them. I know they're in the process with like a lot of them are like reapplying and like, getting them stood up, but like those are going to be maintained and hopefully amenities. But the ones that are eyesores and abandoned, we should definitely alert the city and try to get removed.
Okay. The question is on the resolution of support for the Vermont Avenue Bike Lane project. Q&A also, sorry. We have 5 expired bus stops in Ledroit Park. We finally have a good contact now. It took about 6 months switching them back to parking. Okay. Flagging that for you, Commissioner Holden.
Great. I'll move to support the letter. I didn't officially move.
Sure.
Second.
Wonderful. Debate, discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise your hands. We've got 7. That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Barrio has an item.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Miguel. Yeah, so I recently was reached out to by Cleveland Elementary School, and they are planning their annual field day on June 5th, and they are hoping to receive a letter of support from the ANC in support of closing the 1800 block of 8th Street briefly on that day, so that students and staff and community members can enjoy the celebrations safely, and they'll have space to have fun. So we have Jessica Koenig, who is a neighbor, and her children go to Cleveland Elementary School, and so she was able to join us. And I don't know, Jessica, if you want to tell us any more about what the plan is, but maybe just really brief, 30 seconds. What is field day, and what are you all planning to do with the street closure? And then I can share. I sent out the letter of support recently, but if anyone has any edits that they think I should make, I did draft this very recently, so it
Yeah.
might a few.
Thank you, Francois, for making it happen really quickly.
Of course.
So Cleveland has an incredibly small playground, so there's just not enough space for them to be able to do field day inside. They've done it on the street before, so they line up games like water games for the kids to be able to do that and still have access to bathrooms versus like going up to, Banneker and trying to use that space. So the goal is just to really shut off the north end of the parking, kind of what's right out inside of Cleveland versus the whole street, so we wouldn't need to move cars for the southern half of the street. I live across the street. I'm on the 1800 block. I've gathered signatures before for this exact event, and everyone has been incredibly supportive of this effort for the kids to be able to do this and be safe. So happy to answer any questions.
Thanks for being here, Jessica. Commissioner Kenseth, go ahead.
Yeah, Jessica, this is awesome, and I think that it's great that you're doing this, and I wouldn't see why this commission would not agree to that, because that would be the, excuse my French, stupidest thing. Kids don't have enough places to go here in the city, and between certain cyclists and drivers and everything else, we would want the children and students to be able to experience a day of relief. So I commend you on your effort, and Commissioner Barrio, I got to tell you, you're a breath of fresh air on this on our team, always coming up with great ideas and working with people to get things done. So I don't see why we're even discussing this any further. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really quick, just so I am clear, who would we want to send this letter of support to? Would it be DDOT?
That's my understanding, is that this goes to DDOT.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll send it to you all and to DDOT. That way everybody has it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion.
Do it.
I would like to make a motion that ANC 1B pass a letter in support of Cleveland Elementary School's field day street closing.
Second.
I beat you.
All right. Debate, discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor of letter of support, please raise your hands. And we've got 7, full house. Thank you very much. Letters approved. And that, my friends, thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. Good luck. Invite us over. Just means ices and Flintstone popsicles to me. Those are my memories of field day. That's all we have on our agenda today. Is there any other business? There is.
No. I just want to comment on.
Yes.
on Chicha because it's on the printed agenda. And
I'm sorry. Right. You please tell us why. Yes. Thanks.
Yep. So the short version of is that as a result of a letter that was sent to ABCA on Monday by the applicant, we do not need to take any special action. We can just follow the standard ABCA processes, which we'll be doing, and sending a letter back to ABCA on Friday, which is tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. I'll also take 30 seconds and thank you and thank Stephen and thank Alan for a lot of work on ABCA related matters lately. Matt was in a 4-hour hearing yesterday. Matt was in probably 4 hours of phone calls today with Stephen and me, and the 3 of us and Alan have been back and forth about a protest, and now we have 2 attorneys working with us. It's all been quite a bit, but the professionalism of our team is exceptional, and I'm incredibly grateful. There's absolutely no way we could keep this many balls in the air at the same time without all of you, and a good amount of sacrifice. So thank you so incredibly much.
Kudos on the private investigator. That was pretty awesome.
On the private investigator.
Yeah. I'm telling all my friends about that one.
Great. Okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Go home. 9 o'clock.
Night,
9:03.
everybody.
The meeting is adjourned.
Record.
Thank you.